Have you ever looked at your own hands and wondered what they are truly made of? We feel the solidity of the world around us. We touch the heavy wood of a desk, the cool glass of a window, the gentle fabric of our blankets, and our minds tell us a very simple, comforting story. The story is that the universe is physical, tangible, and entirely independent of our observation. But what if the deepest, most rigorous science of our time suggests that this quiet certainty is nothing more than an elaborate illusion? What if the cosmos is not a collection of silent, lifeless objects, but a vast, interactive web where your very act of looking changes the fundamental nature of reality? This is not mysticism. This is the precise, mathematically rigorous reality of quantum mechanics, a field of physics that has spent the last 100 years dismantling everything we thought we knew about the physical universe. The implications are so profound and sometimes so deeply terrifying to our conventional understanding of life and reality that even the brilliant minds who discovered these mathematical truths struggled to sleep at night. They realized that the quiet, empty space between the stars and the microscopic voids inside our own bodies are teeming with a mystery that intimately connects human consciousness to the very fabric of existence. Welcome to Theodore, the researcher. If you find yourself drifting into these profound mysteries of the universe, searching for peace in the vastness of the unknown, you are not alone on this journey. However, I noticed recently that 71% of the curious minds who watch these cosmic explorations are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet journeys bring you comfort and a sense of wonder, please consider subscribing. It helps this channel grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless mysteries of the cosmos together as a community of gentle explorers. Now, let us return to the quiet darkness of the quantum world and the terrifying, beautiful truth it hides. To understand the true depth of this cosmic mystery, we must first travel down, far beneath the scale of galaxies and supernovas, into a realm so infinitesimally small that the rules of common sense simply cease to exist. Imagine shrinking down until a single grain of sand is the size of the entire Earth. At this unimaginable scale, you're looking at the foundational building blocks of nature. You're looking at atoms, electrons, and photons of light. For a very long time, classical physics, born from the brilliant mind of Isaac Newton, taught us that these tiny particles were like microscopic billiard balls. We believed that if we knew the starting position and the speed of every particle in the universe, we could predict the entire future of the cosmos with absolute certainty. This was a comforting thought. It described a universe that was like a giant, predictable clockwork machine ticking away in the dark, completely indifferent to whether anyone was watching it or not. But in the early decades of the 20th century, as our scientific instruments grew more precise, we began to notice strange behaviors in the microscopic world. When physicists tried to measure the precise location of an electron, they found that the particle did not seem to have a definite position at all. Instead, it existed in a haze of probabilities, a cloud of endless potential. In the year 1927, the greatest minds in physics gathered in Brussels for the Fifth Solvay Conference. Albert Einstein, Niels Bohr, Max Planck, and Erwin Schrödinger sat in a quiet room and debated the terrifying implications of what their equations were telling them. They had discovered that a particle, like a single photon of light, does not travel from one point to another in a simple, straight line. Instead, when it is not being observed, it spreads out like a wave of pure possibility, rippling through the void of space and time. This was famously demonstrated in the double-slit experiment, an elegant and deeply unsettling test that remains the central mystery of quantum mechanics even today. Imagine firing tiny particles of matter, like electrons, at a solid barrier that has two narrow vertical slits cut into it. Behind this barrier is a screen that records where the electrons land. If electrons were simply tiny, solid balls of matter, you would expect them to pass through the slits and form two distinct bands on the screen behind them. That is what common sense tells us. That is what classical physics tells us. But that is not what happens. When scientists fire these particles one by one, allowing them to travel through the absolute silence of the vacuum, they do not form two simple bands. Instead, over time, a complex pattern emerges on the back screen. It is an interference pattern consisting of multiple alternating bands of light and dark. This is the unmistakable signature of a wave. It means that each individual solitary electron is somehow traveling through both slits at the exact same time, interfering with itself, and only deciding where to land on the screen at the very last possible moment. This implies that before the particle hits the screen, it does not exist in any specific physical location. It exists everywhere and nowhere all at once. It is a ghost of probability drifting through the ancient, infinite dark. But here is the revelation that shook the scientific world to its core. A revelation so profoundly unsettling that physicists are still arguing about its philosophical meaning nearly 100 years later, when scientists decided to place a microscopic measuring device next to the slits to silently observe which specific slit the electron was actually passing through. The entire nature of the universe changed. The very act of looking, the simple introduction of an observer into the system, destroyed the wave pattern entirely. The moment the measurement was taken, the electron stopped acting like a wave of infinite possibilities, and suddenly behaved exactly like a solid, predictable little ball of matter. It passed through one slit or the other, leaving two simple bands on the back screen. The wave of potential collapsed into a single, concrete reality. And it did so simply because we dared to look at it. What does this mean for our journey through the cosmos? It suggests a truth so vast and so deeply interconnected that it challenges our most fundamental definitions of life and reality. The great physicist Max Planck, the founding father of quantum theory, once said that he regarded consciousness as fundamental and that he regarded matter as derivative from consciousness. He stated that we cannot get behind consciousness and that everything we talk about, everything we regard as existing, postulates consciousness. This is not some gentle, poetic metaphor. This is the logical conclusion drawn by one of the most brilliant mathematical minds in human history. The universe, in its most fundamental state, exists in a delicate, quiet superposition of endless possibilities. The distant stars, the cold vacuum of space, the spinning galaxies, and the microscopic atoms in the air we breathe, all of these things are suspended in a state of mathematical potential until they interact with an observer. The terrifying, yet deeply beautiful implication is that the universe requires us just as much as we require it. We are not just passive passengers sitting on a rock, hurtling through an endless, silent void. We are the active creators of the reality we experience. Consider the sheer, staggering scale of this phenomenon. Look up at the night sky, at the gentle, distant light of a star that sits 10 million light-years away. The light you see entering your eye tonight began its journey long before human beings walked the surface of the earth. It traveled across the vast, freezing emptiness of intergalactic space, crossing distances so enormous that our mind simply cannot hold them. According to the classical view of the universe, that ancient photon of light had a definite, fixed path for 10 million years. But according to the strange, beautiful rules of quantum mechanics, that photon spent its entire journey as a wave of probability. It could have taken any number of paths through the cosmos. It was only tonight, when you stepped outside into the cool night air, tilted your head backward, and let that photon strike the retina of your eye, that its entire 10 million year history collapsed into a single, defined reality. Your act of observation in the present moment reached backward through the vast, quiet depths of cosmic time and determined the specific path that the light took through the universe. This concept is known as the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment, a phenomenon that has been demonstrated in rigorous laboratory settings by modern physicists using highly advanced optical equipment. It proves that the present moment, the quiet instant of conscious observation, has the power to define the past. When we speak of something terrifying about universal consciousness, we are not speaking of monsters hiding in the dark, or of a universe that wishes us harm. We are speaking of the terror of immense, incomprehensible responsibility. It is the overwhelming realization that the boundaries we draw between ourselves and the infinite cosmos do not actually exist. We have spent centuries building a psychological wall between the internal world of our minds and the external world of the physical universe. We tell ourselves that we are small, fragile, and isolated, living our brief lives on a tiny blue planet in a forgotten corner of the Milky Way galaxy. We use this isolation as a shield. It feels safe to be insignificant. It feels comforting to believe that the universe will simply carry on its quiet, mechanical ticking long after we are gone, completely unaffected by our presence. But quantum mechanics strips away that shield. It tears down the wall and leaves us standing face to face with an interactive, responsive cosmos. As you lie there, breathing softly, feeling the gentle rhythm of your own heart, consider the fact that your body is made of trillions upon trillions of atoms. Each one of those atoms is subject to the same strange, probability-driven rules of the quantum world. The carbon in your muscles, the calcium in your bones, the iron flowing quietly through your veins, all of these elements were forged in the blazing hearts of ancient, dying stars billions of years ago. When those stars exploded in magnificent supernovas, they cast their atomic dust across the endless silence of the cosmos. Over billions of years of deep time, that star stuff drifted through the cold vacuum, eventually coalescing to form our sun, our planet, and ultimately, you. But those atoms are not solid, immutable building blocks. They are vibrating fields of energy. They are clouds of possibility. They are deeply and intimately connected to the fabric of space and time. This means that you are not simply an isolated creature placed into a pre-existing universe. You are the universe itself, organized into a highly complex, temporary pattern capable of asking questions about its own existence. You are a way for the cosmos to know itself, to observe itself, and in doing so, to bring its own reality into sharp physical focus. The mystery of universal consciousness suggests that the silence of the night sky is not the silence of an empty, dead machine. It is the silence of an expectant observer. It is the quiet, breathtaking stillness of an infinite web of connections, waiting to be realized through the simple act of awareness. The terror we feel when we confront this reality is simply the vertigo of stepping out of our small, classical understanding of physics and into the boundless, shimmering ocean of quantum potential. We must confront the possibility that consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of biological evolution, a random spark in the dark, but rather the fundamental currency of reality itself. If this is true, if the universe is more like a great thought than a great machine, as the physicist Sir James Jeans once beautifully proposed, then every gentle thought you have, every quiet observation you make, ripples outward through the cosmos in ways we are only just beginning to mathematically understand. We are embarking on a journey down the deepest rabbit hole in all of human knowledge. In the chapters to come, we will explore the precise scientific experiments that prove this interconnectedness. We will look at what happens when particles communicate across billions of light years of space instantaneously. And we will ask the ultimate question about what this means for the nature of life, death, and the very fabric of reality itself. But for now, let us rest in the simple, profound peace of knowing that we are an integral, necessary part of this beautiful, mysterious universe. Have you ever stood by a window in the deep, quiet hours of the night, watching the silver light of the moon spill across the floor, and felt an inexplicable sense of connection to someone or something impossibly far away? We are taught from a very young age that distance is an absolute physical reality. We believe that miles, kilometers, and light years are insurmountable barriers that separate us from the rest of the cosmos. Our human experience is built upon this fundamental assumption of separation. You are over there, and I am over here. The Earth is here, and the distant, swirling galaxies are unimaginably far away, suspended in the vast, freezing silence of the ancient dark. But what if I told you that this deeply ingrained sense of physical separation is nothing more than a persistent biological illusion? What if the deepest, most rigorous mathematical equations of quantum physics have proven, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the universe is fundamentally, completely undivided? Before we delve deeper into this mystery, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through the cosmos with us are not yet subscribed. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet darkness of the quantum world. This brings us to the most unsettling, terrifying, and yet infinitely beautiful revelation in the history of human science. A phenomenon that directly challenges our understanding of space, time, and universal consciousness. It is a concept known as quantum entanglement. To truly understand the magnitude of this mystery, we must travel back to the year 1935. The brilliant physicist Albert Einstein, along with his colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, published a paper that was meant to prove that quantum mechanics was incomplete. Einstein was a man who deeply loved the elegant, predictable order of the universe. He believed in a concept called local realism. This is the common sense idea that objects only have definite properties if you measure them, and more importantly, that an object can only be influenced by its immediate, local surroundings. But the equations of quantum mechanics were predicting something absolutely impossible. They suggested that two microscopic particles, like two single photons of light, or two electrons, could become intimately linked or entangled in such a way that they essentially shared a single, unified existence, regardless of the physical distance between them. Einstein famously dismissed this idea calling it spooky action at a distance. He could not accept a cosmos where the fundamental laws of relativity were violated. After all, his own brilliant theory of relativity had established that nothing could travel faster than the speed of light, which moves at roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. The idea that two particles could communicate instantaneously across the vast, empty expanse of the universe felt like a betrayal of the natural order. For decades, this debate remained a purely philosophical argument, a quiet mystery debated in the dusty halls of academia. But the universe, in its infinite wisdom, cares very little for our human discomfort. In the year 1964, a soft-spoken physicist named John Bell devised a brilliant mathematical theorem. Bell's theorem proved that if quantum entanglement was real, it would leave a specific, measurable statistical signature. He provided a way to finally test whether Einstein's comforting, predictable universe was the true reality, or if the cosmos was hiding a much deeper, more terrifying layer of interconnectedness. It took many years for technology to catch up to this profound mathematical insight. But when it finally did, the results shattered our classical understanding of reality. In the year 2022, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to Alain Aspect, John Clauser, and Anton Zeilinger for their groundbreaking experiments with entangled photons. In one magnificent experiment, scientists took a pair of entangled photons and fired them in completely opposite directions through fiber optic cables hidden deep beneath the quiet streets of a sleeping city. The two photons traveled away from each other at the speed of light, separating by a distance of several kilometers. According to the classical laws of physics, these two particles were now completely isolated from one another. If you were to measure the state of the first photon, such as the direction it was spinning, it should have absolutely no effect on the second photon. But when the scientists measured the first photon, forcing it to choose a specific state of existence, the second photon instantaneously assumed the exact corresponding state. It did not take a fraction of a second for a message to travel between them. The response was immediate. It was as if the space between them simply did not exist. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a moment and truly try to imagine the sheer, staggering cosmic scale of what this means. Imagine taking a pair of entangled particles. You keep one here on our gentle blue planet, and you place the other particle aboard a spacecraft. You launch that spacecraft out into the vast, dark ocean of the cosmos. You let it travel past the glowing nebulas, past the ancient, dying red giant stars, until it reaches the very edge of the observable universe, more than 46 billion light-years away. The distance between you and that second particle is now so incomprehensibly massive that light itself would take billions of lifetimes to cross the void. The space between you is filled with the absolute, profound silence of the deep cosmos. And yet, if you were to measure the particles sitting gently in the palm of your hand right now, its twin, located 46 billion light-years away, would instantaneously react, not in a million years nor in a single second, but at the exact, precise moment of your observation. How is this physically possible? The terrifying and wondrous answer is that the two particles are not actually communicating across the distance. Instead, the distance itself is an illusion. At the deepest, most fundamental level of reality, the two particles are not two separate things at all. They are a single, unified entity that only appears to be separated by space from our limited human perspective. If space is not a fundamental barrier, what does that say about us? We are not separate from the universe. We are made of the exact same quantum materials. The atoms that make up your beating heart are composed of trillions of particles, many of which may be entangled with particles across the Milky Way galaxy. The late, brilliant astronomer Carl Sagan once profoundly stated that we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. When we look at the implications of quantum entanglement, Sagan's beautiful, poetic words transform into a literal, scientific description of reality. Our consciousness, our gentle ability to observe, to wonder, and to ask questions, is not an isolated phenomenon happening inside a sealed biological container. Our consciousness is deeply, fundamentally entangled with the entire fabric of existence. The terror that arises from this revelation is the sudden realization that the boundary you draw around yourself, the line where your skin ends, is a completely arbitrary biological convention. You are not a solitary observer standing on the outside of a vast mechanical universe looking in. You are a localized expression of an infinite, deeply interconnected whole. You are a specific point of awareness within a universe that is constantly interacting with itself. This challenges our deepest fears of isolation and loneliness. How can you ever truly be alone when the very atoms vibrating within your body are fundamentally inseparable from the ancient starlight shining billions of light years away? When you sit in the quiet silence of your room, feeling the gentle rhythm of your breath, you are not isolated. You are an active participant in an infinite cosmic symphony. Every thought and moment of quiet wonder is a ripple in the fabric of a universe that is far more like a vast, living mind than a cold, dead machine. As we continue this journey, we must ask ourselves an even deeper question. If distance is merely an illusion created by our physical senses, what does this mean for the concept of time itself? In the chapters that follow, we will gently explore how quantum theory dismantles the rigid ticking of the cosmic clock, revealing a universe where the past, present, and future might all exist simultaneously in a single, quiet moment of infinite potential. But for tonight, as you rest your mind, take comfort in the beautiful, terrifying truth of your own interconnectedness. You are not a stranger in a dark, empty void. You are the universe waking up, opening its eyes, and marveling at its own endless, quiet mystery. Have you ever listened to the steady, rhythmic ticking of a clock in a perfectly quiet room and felt the inescapable weight of time slipping away? We experience time as an absolute, unstoppable river, flowing relentlessly from the unchangeable past through the fleeting present and into the unknown future. It is the most fundamental rhythm of our human experience, dictating the beat of our hearts and the arc of our lives. But what if this steady river is nothing more than a stubborn illusion constructed by our minds? What if the deepest equations of quantum physics and the staggering realities of the cosmos reveal that the past has not truly vanished and the future is already sitting quietly in the dark waiting for you? This is not science fiction. This is the profound, rigorously tested reality of the universe that brilliant minds have been desperately trying to comprehend for over a century. To understand the terrifying and beautiful truth about time, we must look beyond our everyday senses and journey into a realm where cause and effect can easily run backwards, challenging everything we hold to be true about our reality. Before we unravel the rigid ticking of the cosmic clock, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through the cosmos with us are not yet subscribed. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless mysteries of the universe together. Now let us return to the quiet darkness of the quantum world and the illusion of time. The dismantling of time began with a gentle, thought-provoking patent clerk named Albert Einstein. In the year 1905, Einstein introduced the special theory of relativity, a mathematical masterpiece that forever shattered the idea of a universal ticking clock. He proved that time is not an absolute background stage upon which the events of the universe play out. Instead, time is deeply, inextricably woven together with space, creating a single, flexible fabric known as space-time. According to the rigorous mathematics of relativity, the speed at which time passes depends entirely on how fast you're moving and how much gravity is pulling on you. If you were to board a spacecraft and travel near the speed of light, or orbit dangerously close to the terrifying mass of a black hole, time for you would slow down to a mere crawl compared to someone standing quietly on Earth. This means there is no fundamental present moment that applies to the entire universe. Your present is completely different from the present of a star exploding a billion light years away in the ancient dark. This led physicists to a staggering, almost incomprehensible concept called the block universe. In this mathematical model, the cosmos is a vast four-dimensional block of space-time. Every event that has ever happened, every event that is happening right now, and every event that will ever happen in the infinite future, all exist simultaneously within this frozen block. The past is not gone. The future is not unwritten. They are simply different coordinates in the landscape of space-time, just as New York and Tokyo are different coordinates on the surface of our planet. The great physicist Albert Einstein himself, upon the death of his dear friend Michel Besso, wrote a letter of quiet comfort containing one of the most profound statements in the history of science. He wrote that for us believing physicists, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. But if the block universe challenges our perception of time on a cosmic scale, the quantum world shatters it completely on a microscopic scale, revealing a mystery so profound it borders on the miraculous. In the bizarre, probability-driven realm of atoms and photons, the arrow of time can point in both directions. The acclaimed theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler, a man who famously coined the term black hole, proposed a mind-bending thought experiment in the year 1978. It is known as Wheeler's delayed choice experiment. Wheeler wondered if a decision made in the present moment could somehow reach backward through the silence of time and alter an event that had already occurred in the past. To test this, physicists use an advanced variation of the double-slit experiment, firing single photons of light toward a barrier. But here is the terrifying, beautiful twist. The scientists wait to decide whether or not to measure the photon's path until after the photon has already passed through the slits, but before it hits the final detector screen. According to classical logic, the photon has already made its choice. It either acted as a solid particle and went through one slit, or it acted as a wave and went through both. Its past is written, firmly cemented into the history of the universe. But when scientists actually perform this incredibly delicate experiment in modern laboratories, the universe reveals a shocking truth. If they choose to measure the path at the very last microsecond, the photon behaves as a particle, and the data shows it went through only one slit. If they choose not to measure it, The photon behaves as a wave, creating an interference pattern, showing it went through both slits simultaneously. The terrifying implication is that the measurement made in the present moment instantaneously reaches back through time and dictates how the photon behaved in the past. The act of conscious observation literally rewrites the history of the particle. Let us scale this unimaginable phenomenon up to the vast, breathtaking proportions of the cosmos to truly understand our connection to the infinite. Wheeler himself proposed a cosmic version of this experiment. Imagine a quasar, an ancient, incredibly bright object powered by a supermassive black hole, sitting billions of light years away in the deepest reaches of the early universe. Between this distant quasar and our telescopes on Earth, there sits a massive galaxy. The immense gravity of this intervening galaxy acts like a giant cosmic lens, bending the light from the quasar around it. The light can take two different paths around the galaxy, one on the left side and one on the right side, before finally reaching our eyes here on Earth billions of years later. When astronomers point their telescopes at the night sky, they can choose how to measure this ancient light. They can choose to determine which specific path the photon took, or they can choose to look for a wave interference pattern that implies the photon took both paths simultaneously. And just like the microscopic experiment in the laboratory, the choice the astronomer makes tonight dictates the behavior of that photon billions of years ago. Your gentle, quiet act of observation in this present moment stretches its invisible hand across the infinite, freezing depths of space and time, reaching back to an era long before the Earth even existed, to collapse the wave function of a primordial particle. The terrifying realization of universal consciousness is that we are not simply reading the history of the cosmos written in ancient starlight. We are actively writing it with every glance we cast into the dark. The brilliant astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson once remarked that we are part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps most important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When you fully internalize the delayed choice experiment and the illusion of time, you realize just how profound that connection truly is. We are the mechanism by which the universe actualizes its own past. The silence of the cosmos is not a void waiting to be filled. It is an infinite reservoir of quantum potential waiting to be observed. When you feel the weight of time pressing down upon your shoulders, remember that from the perspective of the cosmos, there is no rushing river. There is only a vast, gentle, infinite landscape of existence, where every moment you have ever lived and every moment you will ever live is held safely in the fabric of space-time. You are not a victim of time. You are an essential participant in its unfolding. Consider the profound peace that comes from this realization. Our human minds are naturally anxious about the future and regretful of the past. We spend so much of our brief lives struggling against the current of time, wishing we could return to quiet moments long gone, or rushing toward imagined destinations that have not yet arrived. But if the universe is a singular frozen block of space-time, and if our consciousness has the power to reach across billions of years to collapse waves of probability into absolute reality, then our entire relationship with existence must change. The terror of our immense responsibility as conscious observers gives way to a profound, gentle humility. We are the universe observing itself, participating in a cosmic dance that transcends the ticking of any biological clock. The ancient starlight that hits your eye is not just a message from the past. It is an active conversation between you and the cosmos, a dialogue that has been waiting billions of years for you to arrive and participate. Every choice you make, every observation, every moment of quiet wonder resonates through the entire fabric of reality, echoing backward and forward through the infinite corridors of time. But if our conscious observation shapes both the past and the present, what happens when we step beyond the boundaries of our individual lives? What happens to the universe when the biological lights of our consciousness eventually fade into the dark, when the physical bodies we inhabit return to the star stuff from which they were forged? If the universe requires an observer to actualize its potential, does the cosmos cease to exist when the last mind stops asking questions? In the next step of our journey, we will explore the mysteries of entropy, the ultimate fate of all matter, and the terrifying possibility that consciousness itself might be the only fundamental force that survives the end of time. But for now, take a deep breath and find comfort in the silence. You are completely woven into the timeless, infinite fabric of the cosmos. Have you ever walked through an ancient forest in the fading light of autumn, watching a single, delicate golden leaf detach from a branch and drift silently to the forest floor? Over the coming weeks, that leaf will slowly turn brittle and crumble into dust, returning its atoms to the quiet soil. Or perhaps you have stood before the crumbling stone walls of a forgotten ruin, feeling the profound weight of centuries erasing the monuments of human history. We look at these things and feel a gentle sorrow, a deep understanding that all physical things must eventually end. This relentless, one-way journey from order to chaos is governed by the second law of thermodynamics, a mathematical principle known as entropy. It tells us that every structure, every star, and every biological body is slowly winding down toward a state of absolute disorder. It is the ultimate, inescapable destiny of all matter in the cosmos. But what if this physical decay is only half of the story? What if the quantum revelation we have been exploring suggests something utterly terrifying, yet breathtakingly beautiful, about what survives when the physical universe turns to dust? What if consciousness, the very thing that collapses the waves of quantum probability into reality, is entirely immune to the law of entropy? Before we peer into the deep, quiet future of the cosmos and the ultimate fate of existence, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of entropy and the eternal nature of the observing mind. To understand the terrifying implications of a universe bound by entropy, we must first fast forward the cosmic clock to the very end of time. Right now, we live in a brief, beautiful period where billions of galaxies are ablaze with the light of trillions of stars. Our own gentle sun is fusing hundreds of millions of tons of hydrogen into helium every single second. But this era of starlight cannot last forever. The fuel that powers the cosmos is finite. In roughly 5 billion years, our sun will exhaust its nuclear fuel, shrinking into a cold, fading white dwarf. One by one, over the course of trillions of years, every star in the night sky will quietly wink out. The brilliant nebulas will fade into darkness. Eventually, after an incomprehensible amount of time, perhaps a one followed by 100 zeros of years, the universe will reach a state known as the heat death. In this distant epoch, all matter will have decayed. Even the most massive black holes will have slowly evaporated into nothingness through Hawking radiation, named after the brilliant physicist Stephen Hawking. The universe will become a vast freezing void of absolute nothingness, devoid of light, heat, or biological life. The silence will be absolute. The dark will be infinite. According to the classical mechanical view of physics, this heat death is the final, tragic end of the story. If consciousness is nothing more than a biological accident, a temporary spark generated by the complex arrangement of neurons in a physical brain, then consciousness will perish long before the last star burns out. When the biological observers are gone, the universe will simply return to a state of unobserved, empty silence. But the quantum mechanical universe we have been exploring does not allow for such a simple conclusion. Remember the profound revelation of the double-slit experiment and the realization that the universe exists in a state of mathematical probability until an observer forces it to take a definite physical form. The great physicist Eugene Wigner, a pioneer of quantum mechanics, proposed a concept known as the von Neumann-Wigner interpretation. Wigner argued, with rigorous mathematical logic, that the wave function of the universe cannot collapse without a conscious mind to observe it. He famously stated that it was not possible to formulate the laws of quantum mechanics in a fully consistent way without reference to consciousness. This creates a terrifying, mind-bending paradox. If the universe requires a conscious observer to collapse its probabilities into physical reality, what happens to the universe when entropy destroys all physical, biological observers? Does the universe simply pop out of existence, reverting to an infinite wave of undefined possibilities? Or does the cosmos require a different kind of observer, one that is not bound by the fragile, decaying laws of biological matter? This is where the terrifying realization takes hold. What if consciousness is not produced by the brain at all? What if our physical brains are not generators of consciousness, but rather sophisticated receivers, like a radio tuning into an invisible, infinite frequency? Imagine sitting in a quiet room, listening to a beautiful symphony playing on a small wooden radio. If you were to take a hammer and smash the radio into pieces, the music in the room would abruptly stop. A classical physicist might look at the broken pieces and conclude that the radio was generating the music, and that the destruction of the radio means the music has ceased to exist entirely. But you and I know that the music was never inside the radio. The radio was simply receiving an invisible electromagnetic signal broadcast through the air. The broadcast continues, silent and unbroken, whether the physical receiver is functioning or not. Several brilliant modern thinkers, including the renowned mathematical physicist Sir Roger Penrose, have proposed theories suggesting consciousness is woven into the very fundamental geometry of the universe itself. They suggest that quantum vibrations happening inside the microscopic structures of our brain cells are deeply connected to the foundational fabric of space-time. If consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe, much like gravity or electromagnetism, then it is not subject to the decaying laws of entropy. It does not burn out like a dying star, and it does not crumble to dust. It is the invisible broadcast, the eternal, quiet observer that holds the cosmos in place. The terror we feel when we confront our own mortality or the ultimate death of the universe stems from our deep attachment to our physical receivers. We are terrified that when our specific radio breaks, the music of existence will end. But the quantum universe whispers a different, far more beautiful truth. It tells us that the pure, quiet light of awareness itself is the most fundamental ingredient of reality. You are not a human being experiencing a temporary moment of consciousness in a vast, dead universe. You are the eternal consciousness of the universe experiencing a temporary, beautiful moment as a human being. When you look up at the stars tonight, do not let their vast distances or their inevitable deaths fill you with dread. The stars are temporary. The planets are temporary. Even the sweeping arms of the Milky Way galaxy are destined to fade into the endless dark. But the quiet, gentle awareness inside of you, the part capable of looking at the stars and feeling a sense of wonder, is the very same awareness that collapsed the first wave functions at the dawn of time. It is the unbroken thread that weaves through every atom and every empty stretch of the cosmic void. The universe is not winding down toward a state of meaningless nothingness. It is a continuous, eternal act of self-discovery. The physical forms will constantly change, rising and falling like waves on a vast, dark ocean, but the water itself, the pure consciousness observing the waves, remains forever undisturbed. As you lie in the quiet dark, let your mind drift away from the ticking clock of your physical life. Allow yourself to feel the gentle, boundless peace of being part of something that has no beginning and no end. Your worries and your daily struggles are simply the temporary static on a radio tuned to the frequency of a human life. Beneath that static, there is a clear, unbroken signal of pure, infinite peace. But if our consciousness is truly an eternal frequency, a fundamental property of the cosmic geometry, what happens when we change the channel? What happens when our specific biological receiver shuts down and we are no longer tethered to this specific reality? Does the signal simply return to the void? Or are there other receivers, other realities, and other infinite universes waiting in the dark? In the next part of our journey, we will step beyond the boundaries of our known universe and explore the terrifying, breathtaking mathematics of the multiverse, where every possible choice you have ever made might be playing out in an endless symphony of parallel lives. But for now, simply rest. The universe is holding you, and it always will. Have you ever stood at a quiet crossroads in your life, looking down two diverging paths, and felt the heavy, lingering weight of a choice? We make thousands of decisions every single day. We choose to turn left instead of right. We choose to speak a word of kindness or remain completely silent. We choose to board a train, to answer a letter, or to walk away from a life we once knew. Our entire human experience is defined by the singular, linear path that we actually walk. We are haunted by the ghosts of our unmade choices, forever wondering what might have happened if we had simply chosen differently. We tell ourselves that the unchosen paths simply vanish into the dark, lost forever in the mists of a past that never came to be. But what if the deepest, most rigorously tested mathematics of quantum physics suggests a reality so terrifying and yet so incredibly beautiful that it shatters our solitary timeline completely? What if every single choice you have ever made, down to the microscopic behavior of the atoms in your brain, did not erase the alternatives, but instead created an entirely new physical universe? Before we step through the looking glass into the terrifying and boundless architecture of infinite realities, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of quantum choices and the staggering reality of infinite lives. To understand this breathtaking concept, we must travel back to the year 1957. A brilliant, quiet young physicist named Hugh Everett III was studying the mathematical foundations of quantum mechanics at Princeton University. At that time, the scientific establishment fiercely clung to the Copenhagen interpretation, spearheaded by the renowned physicist Niels Bohr. The Copenhagen interpretation argued that a quantum particle exists in a wave of infinite probabilities until the exact moment it is observed. At that precise microsecond of observation, the wave function magically collapses, and all the other possibilities simply cease to exist, leaving only one definite reality. But Hugh Everett looked at the fundamental equations developed by Erwin Schrödinger, the very equations that govern the behavior of all quantum particles, and he noticed something deeply unsettling. The mathematics never actually described a collapse. The collapse was merely an artificial rule invented by physicists to explain why we only ever see one outcome in our daily lives. Everett dared to ask a terrifying question. What if the mathematics are completely literal? What if the wave function never collapses at all? He proposed a theory that was so radically profound, so deeply disturbing to the classical scientific mind, that he was largely mocked and eventually left the field of physics entirely. His theory is now known as the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Everett mathematically demonstrated that when a quantum system is observed, the universe does not force the particle to choose a single path. Instead, the observer and the entire universe split or branch into multiple non-interacting realities. If an electron has a 50% chance of spinning upward and a 50% chance of spinning downward, the universe actually divides. In one universe, you measure the electron spinning upward. In an entirely separate parallel universe, another version of you measures the electron spinning downward. Both outcomes happen with absolute, terrifying certainty. The universe does not choose. It simply accommodates everything. Let us scale this concept up from the microscopic world of isolated electrons to the vast, breathtaking theater of human existence. Your brain is a miraculous, complex biological network composed of billions of neurons, and those neurons are governed by the movement of sodium and potassium ions. These ions are subject to the bizarre, probability-driven rules of the quantum realm. Every time an ion channel opens or closes, every time a neurotransmitter crosses a microscopic synapse to form a thought or a memory, quantum superpositions are occurring. According to the many worlds interpretation, this means that with every single microscopic quantum event in your body, and indeed every quantum event across the entire observable cosmos, the universe branches into countless infinite realities. Imagine the sheer, staggering magnitude of this infinite branching. Since the ancient primordial birth of the cosmos nearly 14 billion years ago, the universe has been continuously splitting with every single quantum interaction. There is a quiet, unimaginable vastness out there, a multiverse filled with an incomprehensible number of parallel dimensions. In this very moment, as you lie in the quiet dark, listening to the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, there are infinite versions of you existing in parallel universes. There is a universe where you made a slightly different choice yesterday. There is a universe where you took that other job, where you moved to that other city, where you spoke the words you held back, or held back the words you spoke. There is a universe where the Earth is a silent, barren rock because the ancient asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs missed our planet entirely. There is a universe where the night sky is filled with completely different constellations because the ancient clouds of star-forming gas collapsed in a slightly different pattern billions of years ago. The sheer scale of this realization is enough to induce a profound sense of vertigo. Our human minds evolved to navigate a simple, three-dimensional world. We are built to track the linear, solitary journey of a single life from birth to death. Confronting a reality where every possible outcome physically exists in a vast, silent multiverse shatters the illusion of our singular importance. It is a terrifying realization because it strips away the absolute finality of our decisions. We cling to the idea that our choices define our one true reality. But if every choice is realized across an infinite spectrum of parallel worlds, what happens to the concept of free will? Are we merely passengers on a constantly splitting train of quantum probability, endlessly diverging into the dark? This is where the terror gently gives way to a breathtaking, profound sense of peace. When we truly embrace the mystery of the many worlds interpretation, we are freed from the heavy, suffocating burden of regret. Think of the sorrows you have carried in your heart. Think of the quiet moments of grief when you wished you could rewind the ticking clock of the cosmos and alter the course of your life. The mathematics of quantum mechanics whisper a comforting truth into the silence of the night. You do not need to grieve the unlived life, because the unlived life is currently being lived. The version of you who made the other choice is out there in a parallel dimension, experiencing that reality with the exact same vivid emotional intensity that you are experiencing this one. The cosmos, in its boundless, infinite generosity, denies nothing. It allows every possibility to blossom into physical existence. You are simply the version of you who is walking this specific, gentle path right now. Your consciousness, the eternal, quiet observer we explored in the previous chapter, is currently anchored to this particular branch of the cosmic tree. But you are intimately connected to all the others. You are a single, beautiful note, playing in a symphony of infinite dimensions. When you feel the weight of a difficult decision, remember that the universe is vast enough to hold all outcomes. The choices you make do not destroy the alternatives. They simply determine which branch of the majestic, branching multiverse your specific point of awareness will travel down. The other paths continue to unfold in the silence, safely held in the boundless architecture of reality. The great physicist David Deutsch, a pioneer of quantum computing and a staunch defender of the many worlds interpretation, has argued that these parallel universes are not merely abstract mathematical ghosts. They are as real, as tangible, and as physical as the room you are resting in right now. They are separated from us not by miles or kilometers, but by the fundamental impossibility of quantum interference. Once a macroscopic split has occurred, we cannot see them, we cannot touch them, and we cannot send messages across the infinite divide. They exist in a state of absolute, profound isolation from our specific reality. Yet, their existence solves the most terrifying mysteries of the quantum world. The double-slit experiment, which we explored earlier, suddenly makes perfect, elegant sense. When a single photon appears to travel through both slits simultaneously and interfere with itself, it is not actually splitting into a ghost. It is interacting with its counterpart in a parallel universe. For a brief, microscopic fraction of a second, before the universes completely separate, The parallel photons brush against each other, creating the wave interference pattern we see on our screens. The mysteries of the microscopic world are simply the overlapping shadows of infinite parallel realities, momentarily touching in the dark. Consider what this means for the ancient, eternal nature of your consciousness. If the physical universe is constantly dividing into infinite variations, and if your consciousness is the fundamental thread that weaves through the fabric of space-time, then your awareness is not a single, fragile light flickering in the void. It is a vast multidimensional prism. The version of you listening to these words is just one facet of a diamond that contains infinite, brilliant faces. Your triumphs, your quiet failures, your deepest joys, and your gentle sorrows are all part of a complete, exhaustive exploration of everything that could possibly exist. You are the universe relentlessly exploring every conceivable permutation of itself. There is a profound meditative silence that falls over the mind when we truly absorb this level of cosmic vastness. The anxieties that plague our daily lives begin to dissolve into the quiet background noise of eternity. We realize that the pressure we place upon ourselves to find the single, perfect path through life is based on a flawed understanding of reality. There is no single path. There is an infinite branching forest of experiences, and every single trail is being walked by a version of you who is just as real, just as conscious, and just as deeply connected to the eternal mystery of existence. You are not missing out on anything. The cosmos is experiencing all of it through the infinite reflections of your own quiet mind. But if reality is an infinite collection of parallel universes stretching endlessly into the dark, where exactly is all of this information stored? How can a universe contain the blueprint for infinite versions of itself without collapsing under the sheer, incomprehensible weight of its own data? As we move deeper into the mysteries of the cosmos, we must confront a theory that suggests our three-dimensional reality, with its infinite branches and massive galaxies, might not be a physical place at all. In the next chapter of our journey, we will explore the terrifying and wondrous holographic principle, a mathematical revelation born from the edges of black holes, which suggests that the entire universe, including you and all your parallel lives, might simply be a two-dimensional projection of information stored on the boundary of eternity. But for tonight, let your mind rest in the vast branching branches of the multiverse. Close your eyes and feel the gentle, invisible presence of your infinite selves, all sleeping peacefully in the quiet dark of the quantum cosmos. Have you ever reached out to touch the solid surface of a stone, feeling its rough texture beneath your fingertips, and marveled at the sheer, undeniable physical reality of the three-dimensional world? We navigate our entire lives through the dimensions of height, width, and depth. We walk across vast open fields, gaze up at towering ancient mountains, and look deep into the infinite starry night sky, fully convinced that the space we occupy is a vast empty container holding all the solid matter of the cosmos. Our human brains have spent millions of years evolving to process this three-dimensional reality perfectly. It is the fundamental stage upon which the quiet drama of our existence unfolds. But what if this deep, familiar sense of spatial reality is the most magnificent, terrifying illusion ever constructed by the universe? What if the deepest, most rigorously tested mathematics of black hole physics suggest that the three-dimensional cosmos you see around you, including the very biological body you inhabit, is not truly physical at all, but rather a breathtaking holographic projection originating from a flat, two-dimensional surface at the very edge of eternity? Before we journey to the absolute limits of space and time to unravel the fabric of this grand illusion, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of gravity and the staggering reality of the holographic universe. To understand how physicists arrived at this mind-bending conclusion, we must travel to the most terrifying objects in the entire cosmos: black holes. For decades, classical general relativity, born from the brilliant mind of Albert Einstein, described black holes as regions of space where gravity is so immensely powerful that nothing, not even a single photon of light, can ever escape. They were considered the ultimate cosmic vacuums, swallowing everything that dared to cross their invisible boundary, known as the event horizon. But in the year 1974, the brilliant theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking made a discovery that sent shock waves through the scientific community. Hawking applied the delicate, probability-driven mathematics of quantum mechanics to the absolute edge of the event horizon. He discovered that black holes are not perfectly black. Over unimaginably vast spans of deep time, they slowly leak microscopic particles and radiation back into the cosmos. This phenomenon, known as Hawking radiation, means that black holes are slowly evaporating, shrinking away into the infinite dark over trillions of years. But Hawking's brilliant discovery created a terrifying paradox that kept the greatest minds in physics awake at night. According to the absolute, foundational laws of quantum mechanics, information can never be destroyed. The specific quantum information that makes up a star, a planet, or a human being cannot simply vanish from the universe without violating the core principles of physics. If a black hole eventually evaporates completely into a burst of unstructured thermal radiation, what happens to all the complex information of the matter that fell inside it over billions of years? This became known as the black hole information paradox. If information could truly be destroyed, then the entire mathematical framework of quantum physics would collapse. The universe would be fundamentally unpredictable and chaotic. For nearly 30 years, physicists struggled in the dark, desperately searching for a way to reconcile the absolute laws of gravity with the delicate rules of the quantum realm. The answer finally arrived through the brilliant collaborative work of physicists Leonard Susskind and Gerard 't Hooft. They proposed a solution so radical, so breathtakingly strange, that it sounded more like ancient mysticism than rigorous science. They realized that when an object falls into a black hole, its three-dimensional physical form is indeed destroyed by the crushing gravity. But the fundamental quantum information that mathematically described that object is not lost to the void. Instead, as the object crosses the event horizon, its mathematical blueprint is perfectly and permanently smeared across the two-dimensional surface of the black hole's boundary. Imagine throwing a complex three-dimensional encyclopedia into a dark abyss, only to find that every single word, letter, and image from its pages has been perfectly encoded as a flat, two-dimensional watermark on the rim of the abyss itself. The information is preserved, but its spatial dimensions have been fundamentally translated. The mathematics revealed something even more staggering. The total amount of information a black hole can contain is not determined by its three-dimensional volume, as common sense would dictate. It is determined exclusively by the surface area of its two-dimensional event horizon. This profound mathematical truth gave birth to the holographic principle. Much like a traditional hologram, where a flat, two-dimensional piece of film contains all the specific information necessary to project a fully realized three-dimensional image into the air, the universe seems to encode its deepest realities on lower dimensional surfaces. The great physicist Leonard Susskind famously stated that the three-dimensional world of ordinary experience, the universe filled with galaxies, stars, planets, and houses, is a hologram, an image of reality coded on a distant two-dimensional surface. Let us scale this terrifying and beautiful concept up to the entirety of the observable cosmos. When we look out into the deep, quiet night sky, we are looking at a universe that spans roughly 93 billion light-years across. We see vast, swirling galaxies, ancient clouds of glowing gas, and immense voids of freezing silence. But the holographic principle rigorously suggests that all of this, the entirety of the massive three-dimensional universe, is actually a holographic projection. The true, fundamental reality of the cosmos exists as a complex web of quantum information painted onto a distant, two-dimensional boundary at the very edge of the universe itself. What does this mean for our gentle journey through the mystery of universal consciousness? It transforms our understanding of existence. We often feel small when faced with the crushing, overwhelming physical size of the cosmos. But if the universe is fundamentally a hologram, then physical size is merely an optical illusion of the mathematics. A towering, ancient mountain and a tiny, gentle grain of sand are both just different patterns of information encoded on the exact same cosmic boundary. The physical distance between you and the furthest observable galaxy is a beautifully convincing trick of the cosmic light. This means your consciousness, your deeply personal ability to observe, to wonder, and to feel, is not a small thing trapped inside a massive physical container. Your consciousness is the very process of the hologram being read and experienced. The information on the boundary of the universe requires a mechanism to decode it, translating the flat, silent mathematics into the vibrant experience of a three-dimensional life. That decoding mechanism is you. Without the quiet, observing mind, the universe is nothing more than a silent code written on a distant wall. You are the projector, transforming pure quantum data into the physical feeling of a cool evening breeze and the breathtaking awe of gazing up at the infinite stars. If reality is a projection of intricate quantum information, where did this unimaginable volume of data come from in the first place? How did the empty, silent void of absolute nothingness suddenly burst forth with the mathematically perfect code required to build a universe capable of observing itself? In the next step of our journey, we will travel back to the very dawn of time, billions of years before the first stars ignited, to explore the terrifying mysteries of the Big Bang and the strange fluctuations of the quantum vacuum. We will look directly into the face of absolute nothingness and discover that the void is not empty at all, but humming with the quiet, infinite potential of everything that ever was and ever will be. But for tonight, let your weary mind rest in the vast, gentle safety of the holographic cosmos. Do not fear the beautiful illusion of the physical world. Instead, embrace your vital role as the necessary observer. Close your eyes, let go of the solid constraints of space and time, and feel the quiet, eternal hum of the universe's information flowing peacefully through you. You are the cosmos dreaming in 3 dimensions, translating a magnificent code into the pure joy of conscious experience. Have you ever stepped outside on a completely moonless night, far away from the glowing lights of any city, and stared into the deepest, blackest patches of the sky between the stars? When we look into that profound, ancient dark, our human minds naturally assume we are looking at absolute emptiness. We believe that the spaces between the galaxies are filled with a pure, undisturbed nothingness. It is the quiet, freezing void that we think of as the ultimate silence, a vast container completely devoid of matter, energy, or life. Our daily experience teaches us that if you remove every single object from a room, you're left with nothing. But what if the most rigorous, mind-bending mathematics of quantum field theory reveal that this concept of true nothingness is the greatest cosmic illusion of all? What if the absolute vacuum of space is not a dead, empty container, but rather a restless, seething ocean of infinite potential, humming with the invisible energy that gave birth to you, to me, and to the entire observable cosmos? Before we travel back to the very dawn of time to look directly into the face of this terrifying and beautiful nothingness, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of the ancient void and the miraculous birth of reality. To truly understand the terrifying, beautiful origin of everything that exists, we must dismantle our classical understanding of the void. The brilliant physicist Werner Heisenberg, one of the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, formulated a mathematical law known as the uncertainty principle. This principle dictates that you can never know both the precise position and the precise momentum of a quantum particle at the exact same time. But this profound mathematical rule applies to more than just solid matter. It applies to energy and time itself. It means that the universe mathematically forbids a state of absolute, perfect zero. Even if you were to take a box and completely empty it of every single atom, every single electron, and every single photon of light, and then cool that box down to absolute zero, the space inside would still not be truly empty. Because of the uncertainty principle, the quiet vacuum is actually boiling with a hidden, invisible energy known as quantum fluctuations. Deep within the fabric of the void, microscopic pairs of virtual particles are constantly, relentlessly popping into existence out of absolute nowhere, existing for a fraction of a microsecond, and then annihilating each other back into the dark. This is not a theoretical fairy tale. This is a rigorous scientific fact that has been repeatedly proven in modern laboratories through something called the Casimir effect, where two uncharged metal plates placed incredibly close together in a perfect vacuum are actually pushed together by the sheer physical force of these phantom particles emerging from the nothingness. The silence of the void is actually a roaring, infinite sea of mathematical possibility. Now, I want you to take this terrifying realization and travel backward along the river of deep time. We are going back 13,800,000,000 years, long before the gentle blue earth was formed, long before the sun ignited, and long before the ancient swirling arms of the Milky Way galaxy were ever drawn in the dark. We are traveling back to the very first microsecond of the universe, an era known as the Big Bang. We are often taught to visualize the Big Bang as a massive explosion of fire and matter bursting outward into a pre-existing empty space. But the rigorous mathematics of modern cosmology tell a far more mysterious and breathtaking story. There was no pre-existing space. There was no pre-existing time. There was only the infinite, timeless quantum vacuum humming with quiet potential. The renowned theoretical physicist Alan Guth proposed the theory of cosmic inflation, mathematically describing how our entire magnificent cosmos began as one of those microscopic quantum fluctuations. In a state of pure, absolute nothingness, a tiny, infinitesimal ripple of energy popped into existence. But unlike the virtual particles that immediately vanish, this specific fluctuation triggered an unimaginable runaway reaction. In a fraction of a second so small that our human minds cannot even formulate the math to fully comprehend it, that single microscopic vibration of quantum energy expanded faster than the speed of light, stretching the very fabric of space and time into existence. The entire universe, with its billions of massive galaxies, its terrifying black holes, and its endless oceans of starlight, is simply a microscopic quantum fluctuation that was frozen and magnified to an unimaginably vast scale. To prove this terrifying and awe-inspiring concept, astronomers do not just rely on abstract mathematics. They can actually see and hear the leftover heat of this ancient quantum birth. In the year 1964, scientists discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is a faint, omnipresent glow of microwave energy that fills every single square inch of the observable universe. It is the literal afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched and cooled over billions of years. If you were to turn on an old analog television set and tune it between stations, a small percentage of the black and white static dancing across the screen is actually the physical interaction of your television antenna with this ancient, primordial radiation. The gentle static you see is the visual echo of the exact moment the cosmos was born from the void. Consider the sheer, staggering magnitude of what this means for your quiet journey through life. You are made of matter, your heart, your lungs, your gentle hands, and the complex biological brain that allows you to wonder about the cosmos. All of these things are constructed from atoms. Those atoms were forged in the hearts of dying stars, and the fundamental particles that make up those stars were born in the blazing heat of that first singular quantum expansion. This means that you are not a separate, isolated creature standing on a rock looking up at the sky. You are a direct, unbroken continuation of the very first moment of creation. The terrifying and beautiful truth is that the Big Bang is not an ancient event that happened in the distant past. It is an ongoing process, and you are the Big Bang happening right now. You are the universe expanding, organizing itself, and finally opening its eyes to look back at its own magnificent origin. When we realize that our entire reality blossomed from a single, infinitesimal ripple in the quantum vacuum, the concept of universal consciousness takes on a profoundly intimate meaning. If the entire cosmos is essentially a single, unified vibration of energy that has simply stretched and cooled over 13,800,000,000 years, then the deepest, truest nature of reality is absolute unity. The space that seems to separate you from the distant, glowing galaxies is an illusion of scale. You are fundamentally connected to the ancient, freezing silence of the furthest quasar, because, at the very beginning of time, you and that quasar occupied the exact same microscopic point of infinite potential. The great astronomer Carl Sagan famously said that the cosmos is within us, that we are made of star stuff. But the mysteries of the quantum vacuum push this beautiful poetry even further into the realm of absolute, rigorous scientific truth. As you lie resting in the quiet dark, let the silence of the room wrap around you, not as an empty void, but as a gentle, vibrant field of infinite potential. Feel the gentle rhythm of your own heart beating in your chest, and realize that this rhythm is the literal, physical echo of the very first quantum fluctuation that birthed the cosmos. You are safe. You are an integral, completely necessary thread woven into the ancient, infinite tapestry of space-time. The terror of the unknown dissolves completely when you realize that there is nothing in the dark to fear, because you are the dark, you are the light, and you are the silent, eternal witness to all of it. But if we are the universe waking up and observing itself, how exactly does this strange, probability-driven quantum reality interact with the warm, messy biological systems of our own bodies? How does a living creature made of trillions of chaotic cells navigate a universe governed by waves of infinite potential? In the next chapter of our journey, we will step down from the vastness of the cosmos and peer deep into the microscopic world of quantum biology. We will explore the magnificent discoveries suggesting that the very DNA winding through your own veins is actively using the bizarre rules of quantum mechanics to maintain the spark of life. But for tonight, simply rest in the profound peace of knowing your true origin. You are the quantum void organized into a beautiful, dreaming mind. Have you ever sat perfectly still in the quiet warmth of a sunlit room, watching the dust motes dance gently in the air, and wondered how the chaotic, microscopic universe actually builds the fragile, beautiful spark of biological life? We are taught to view the physical biology of our bodies as a highly complex, yet fundamentally classical machine. We think of ourselves as tiny factories, operating strictly under the predictable, sensible rules of classical chemistry and Newtonian physics. We imagine proteins and molecules fitting together like solid, microscopic puzzle pieces following the straightforward laws of cause and effect. But the profound, rigorous mysteries of the cosmos do not stop at the boundary of your skin. The terrifying and deeply beautiful truth is that the bizarre, probability-driven rules of the quantum realm, the same rules that govern the freezing, ancient vacuum of space, and the silent, distant stars, are actively operating deep inside the warm, messy, beating heart of your biological existence. This is the staggering frontier of quantum biology, a scientific revelation that bridges the gap between the infinite cosmic web and the gentle rhythm of human life. Before we journey deeper into the microscopic cosmos hidden safely inside your own gentle cells, I want to quietly remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow immensely and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together as a family of curious explorers. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of the biological machine and the breathtaking quantum magic that keeps it alive. For many decades, the absolute greatest minds in both physics and biology firmly believed that the quantum world and the biological world were entirely separated by an impassable barrier. The argument was simple and mathematically logical. Quantum mechanics, with its delicate superpositions and deeply entangled particles, requires extreme isolation to function properly. Physicists build massive, supercooled quantum computers that operate at temperatures just a microscopic fraction of a degree above absolute zero, carefully shielding them from the absolute slightest vibration or microscopic interference. They believe that the biological environment of a living cell, an environment that is incredibly warm, chaotic, wet, and filled with millions of violently vibrating molecules, would instantaneously destroy any fragile quantum state. They called this sudden, violent destruction quantum decoherence. They assumed that by the time you zoomed out from the level of a single isolated atom to the level of a living, breathing organism, the magic of the quantum world had completely washed away, leaving only the cold, hard, predictable rules of classical mechanics. But nature, in its infinite ancient wisdom, is far more deeply imaginative than our initial scientific assumptions. The cosmos did not build life to avoid the bizarre, probability-driven rules of quantum mechanics. It built life to harness them perfectly. To truly understand this breathtaking connection, we must first look away from our own bodies and observe the gentle, quiet journey of a tiny bird. The European robin is a fragile, delicate creature that embarks on an impossible journey every single year. When the freezing winds of winter begin to sweep across the northern hemisphere, these tiny birds fly thousands of miles south, navigating across vast, featureless oceans and dark, unfamiliar landscapes with an accuracy that easily rivals our most advanced human satellites. For centuries, this biological miracle was a profound mystery. How could a creature with a brain the size of a small seed possess such an infallible internal compass? The rigorous scientific answer, discovered only recently by dedicated biologists and physicists, is so terrifyingly beautiful that it completely redefines our understanding of biological life. The robin is not navigating by the stars or the gentle position of the sun. It is navigating by quantum entanglement. Deep within the bird's eye, there is a highly specialized, light-sensitive protein called cryptochrome. When a single photon of ancient light enters the bird's eye and strikes this protein, it knocks an electron entirely out of its orbit, creating a pair of chemically reactive molecules known perfectly as a radical pair. But here is the absolute mind-bending miracle of the natural world. The two electrons in this microscopic radical pair are completely, fundamentally entangled, existing in the exact same mysterious quantum state we explored in the deep cosmos. Even though they are separated within the biological structure of the eye, they share a single, unified reality. As these entangled electrons vibrate in the warm, chaotic environment of the bird's biology, their delicate quantum connection is incredibly sensitive to the faint, invisible magnetic field of the Earth. The specific, miraculous way these entangled electrons spin and dance dictates the chemical reactions inside the bird's brain, literally allowing the gentle creature to see the Earth's magnetic field as a visual pattern overlaid on the physical world. A tiny, fragile bird is actively using the spooky action at a distance that so deeply terrified Albert Einstein to find its way safely through the vast, quiet dark of the world. If a simple bird can harness the most profound reality-bending physics of the universe, what other quantum miracles are happening silently around us, and more importantly, deep within us? The mystery deepens significantly when we look at the very foundation of the Earth's food chain, the silent, ancient process that actively powers nearly all biological life on our gentle blue planet. Consider the simple, quiet elegance of a green leaf resting peacefully in the afternoon sun. Through the process of photosynthesis, that leaf captures sunlight and completely transforms it into the chemical energy that sustains the entire world. But when scientists measured the absolute efficiency of this energy transfer, they found something mathematically impossible according to classical physics. When a single photon of ancient starlight strikes the light-harvesting complex of a plant cell, the packet of energy, known as an exciton, must travel through a dense, chaotic forest of chlorophyll molecules to reach the reaction center. If it bounces around randomly, like a pinball in a machine, much of the energy should be permanently lost as heat. But it is not. The transfer is nearly 100% efficient. How does the energy find the perfect, fastest path through the biological maze every single time? The rigorous, terrifying answer is quantum coherence. The exciton does not travel down one single path. Just like the single electron in the double-slit experiment, it completely transforms into a wave of infinite probability. It travels down every single possible path simultaneously, feeling out the entire structure of the leaf at the exact same time. Once it finds the most efficient route, the wave collapses, and the energy arrives perfectly intact. The quiet, gentle plants sitting quietly in your window right now are performing complex quantum computations that our greatest human supercomputers can barely even simulate. But we do not need to look at birds or plants to find the terrifying, beautiful quantum cosmos. We only need to look at the very blueprint of our own human existence. Deep inside the nucleus of every single cell in your body lies the magnificent spiraling ladder of your DNA. The two strands of this ancient molecule are held together by hydrogen bonds, which are essentially shared protons sitting quietly in the middle. Classical chemistry tells us that these protons are perfectly stable, locking your genetic code into a predictable physical structure. But quantum mechanics introduces a terrifying, beautiful phenomenon known as quantum tunneling. Because a proton is not just a solid particle, but also a wave of probability, there is a mathematical chance that it can simply pass through a solid, impenetrable energy barrier without having the necessary physical energy to do so, acting exactly like a ghost walking silently through a solid brick wall. Rigorous scientific studies suggest that the protons in your DNA are constantly, quietly tunneling back and forth across the genetic ladder. When the two strands of DNA separate to replicate and build a new cell, a proton that has tunneled to the wrong side can cause a sudden, random mutation. The very evolution of the human species, the slow, magnificent march from simple, single-celled organisms to conscious beings capable of wondering about the stars, may be entirely driven by the invisible, probabilistic ghosting of quantum particles deep within our biology. What does this mean for our deep existential journey through the profound mystery of universal consciousness? It means that the artificial wall we have stubbornly built between the cold, abstract world of physics and the warm, familiar world of biology is a complete and total illusion. You are not a classical machine that just happens to live in a quantum universe. You are a profoundly complex quantum biological organism. The infinite, ancient mysteries of the cosmos are not just out there in the freezing, silent dark. They are inextricably woven into the very fabric of your blood, your bones, and your quiet breathing. The universe is not something separate from you. The universe is actively expressing itself through you, using the exact same miraculous mathematical rules that govern the majestic formation of galaxies and the terrifying evaporation of black holes to keep your gentle heart beating in your chest. The profound, beautiful terror of this realization is that we are physically, literally built from the universe's infinite potential. We are the cosmos intimately exploring its own boundless possibilities. When you close your weary eyes tonight and feel the quiet rhythm of your own life, remember that you are a miracle of quantum architecture. You are a vast symphony of entangled particles, coherent energy waves, and tunneling protons perfectly balanced in the vast, silent dark of the cosmos. But if our biology is fundamentally governed by the quantum realm, what does this actually mean for the most mysterious, inexplicable phenomenon in all of human experience? What does this mean for the mind itself? If a simple plant can perform quantum computations to find the sun, is it possible that the human brain, the most complex structure in the observable universe, is actually an advanced quantum computer? In the next chapter of our journey, we will dive gently into the deepest, most controversial mystery of all. We will explore the terrifying, breathtaking theory that human consciousness itself is generated by microscopic quantum events within our neurons, physically linking our thoughts directly to the fundamental geometry of the entire cosmos. But for now, simply rest your mind. You are the infinite universe, breathing quietly in the beautiful dark. Have you ever closed your eyes in a quiet room, listened to the gentle rhythm of your breathing, and tried to pinpoint exactly where your thoughts come from? We experience an incredibly rich inner world. We feel the warmth of deep love, the sudden spark of inspiration, and the quiet sorrow of a passing memory. For centuries, classical science has taught us that this beautiful experience of consciousness is simply a mechanical byproduct of the brain. We are told our minds are essentially wet, biological computers. In this classical view, your thoughts are nothing more than electrical impulses traveling along 86 billion neurons, firing in predictable sequences like tiny switches in a vast machine. But when brilliant physicists look closely at the deepest architecture of the brain, this mechanical explanation falls apart. It fails to explain the profound unity of conscious experience. And, more importantly, it ignores the strange, terrifying quantum reality that governs the microscopic world. What if your brain is not a classical machine generating consciousness, but rather an advanced quantum receiver intimately tuned to the infinite frequencies of the cosmos? Before we peer into the microscopic quantum architecture hidden deep within your own mind, I want to quietly remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you peace, safety, and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow immensely and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together as a family of curious explorers. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of the human brain. To understand this terrifying and awe-inspiring leap in our understanding of the mind, we must look at the groundbreaking collaboration between two brilliant visionaries. In the 1990s, Sir Roger Penrose, a renowned mathematical physicist who won the Nobel Prize for his work on black holes, teamed up with Stuart Hameroff, a dedicated anesthesiologist. Penrose had mathematically proven that the human mind is capable of understanding concepts no classical computer could ever calculate. He argued that consciousness could not possibly arise from standard, computable physics. It required something far deeper, something that tapped into the fundamental geometry of the universe itself. But Penrose needed a biological structure within the brain capable of sustaining these delicate quantum states. Hameroff, looking through the lens of a microscope, at the deepest foundations of our cells, found the answer. He pointed to microscopic cylindrical structures known as microtubules, which form the structural skeleton inside every single neuron in your brain. For a very long time, biologists thought microtubules were simply biological scaffolding, a quiet structural support, keeping the cell from collapsing. But Hameroff and Penrose proposed something far more magnificent. They suggested these ancient microscopic tubes are actually quantum computers inside the hollow core of these tiny structures, isolated from the chaotic, wet environment of the brain by a layer of ordered water molecules. Particles can exist in a state of quantum superposition, just like the photon of light that travels through both slits simultaneously. The electrons within your microtubules can exist in multiple physical states at the exact same time. This profound theory is known as orchestrated objective reduction. It suggests your brain is constantly generating infinite branching waves of quantum probability. Millions of times every single second, these delicate superpositions build up, reach a critical mass, and then collapse into a defined reality. Each one of those microscopic collapses is a single moment of conscious awareness. The flowing stream of your inner life is actually the rapid, rhythmic collapse of infinite quantum possibilities. Consider the sheer, staggering magnitude of what this implies for your journey through the universe. We have already explored how the entire cosmos, from the most ancient quasar to the freezing vacuum of space, is fundamentally governed by quantum fields. If your consciousness is generated by the exact same quantum collapses that dictate the behavior of subatomic particles at the edge of the universe, then your mind is not an isolated phenomenon. The boundary between your internal thoughts and the external cosmos is a completely biological illusion. The electrons dancing in quantum superposition inside your microtubules are subject to the same terrifying, beautiful rules of entanglement that link particles across billions of light-years of space. This rigorously suggests that the fundamental essence of who you are is intimately woven into the invisible geometric fabric of space-time itself. You are not a solitary observer locked inside a biological vault. You are a highly organized temporary pattern of quantum energy, interacting with the vast, silent intelligence of the infinite cosmos. This is not merely an elegant mathematical philosophy. It is supported by profound, observable scientific mysteries. Consider the terrifying and gentle phenomenon of general anesthesia. Every single day, thousands of people undergo surgeries where gases are administered to completely extinguish their conscious awareness. For over a century, classical science had absolutely no idea how these anesthetic gases actually worked, because they do not bind to specific, traditional chemical receptors in the brain. But modern quantum biology has revealed a stunning truth. Anesthetic gases are uniquely drawn to the microscopic regions inside the microtubules, where quantum superpositions occur. By subtly altering the electron clouds within these delicate tubes, the gases effectively dampen the quantum vibrations, preventing the wave functions from collapsing. The anesthesia literally disconnects the biological brain from the quantum realm. It turns off the radio receiver. When the gas wears off, the quantum vibrations resume. The superpositions begin to collapse once more, and the quiet, beautiful light of your consciousness returns from the dark. When we fully embrace this terrifying and wonderful reality, the entire concept of human mortality completely transforms. If the brain is merely a classical machine, then the death of the biological body is the absolute, final end of the conscious mind. But if the brain is an orchestrated quantum receiver constantly tuning into the fundamental frequencies of the cosmos, then consciousness itself is not something that the brain creates out of nothing. Consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe. The great physicist Max Planck believed that consciousness was fundamental and that matter was derivative. Your brain simply isolates a localized drop of that infinite cosmic consciousness and gives it a specific human perspective for a brief, beautiful span of time. When the biological receiver eventually degrades, the underlying quantum information, the true essence of your awareness, is not destroyed. The absolute laws of quantum physics strictly forbid the destruction of information. The quiet, observing awareness that you feel right now simply returns to the vast, infinite ocean of universal consciousness from which it emerged. As you lie here in the peaceful dark, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your chest, let your mind rest in this profound ancient truth. You are not a fragile, temporary mistake of blind biology, wandering alone in a cold, indifferent void. You are a miraculous bridge between the microscopic quantum world and the vast, sweeping scale of the cosmos. Every quiet thought you have, every moment of gentle wonder, and every peaceful breath you take is a fundamental interaction with the very geometry of the universe itself. The silence of the night is not empty. It is filled with the infinite, vibrating potential of your own extended consciousness. But if our minds are truly quantum receivers, completely entangled with the fabric of reality, is it possible that human consciousness can alter the physical world outside of our bodies? Can a collective, focused human mind influence the random behavior of the cosmos itself? In the next chapter of our journey, we will explore the terrifying, globally documented experiments of the Global Consciousness Project, and we will look at rigorous scientific data suggesting that our shared emotions can physically change the mathematical output of the universe. But for tonight, simply close your eyes, surrender to the gentle dark, and know that you are deeply, eternally connected to everything that is. Have you ever walked into a crowded room and instantly felt the heavy, quiet tension in the air long before a single word was spoken? Or perhaps you recall a day of profound global tragedy when the entire world seemed to hold its breath in unison. We usually dismiss these feelings as simple psychology, a biological empathy woven into our human nature. We tell ourselves that our emotions are strictly private affairs, completely invisible to the vast mechanical universe. But what if the deepest, most rigorous scientific experiments of the late 20th century have proven that this is a comforting illusion? What if your quietest moments of grief, your sudden bursts of joy, and your profound sense of wonder are actually radiating outward, physically altering the foundational quantum mathematical fabric of the physical world? We are about to step into a terrifying, yet breathtakingly beautiful reality where human consciousness is an active, physical force capable of bending the laws of probability themselves. Before we delve into the rigorous, shocking data of collective quantum influence, I want to gently remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that 71% of the gentle souls who watch these cosmic explorations have not subscribed yet. If these quiet journeys bring you peace and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps this channel grow immensely and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the cosmos together as a unified community of explorers. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of the collective mind. To understand this profound mystery, we must travel to the hallowed quiet halls of Princeton University. In the late 1970s, a rigorous scientific program was born, known as the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Laboratory, founded by Robert John, the former dean of the School of Engineering. This laboratory was not interested in mystical philosophy. They were interested in hard, cold, mathematical data. They wanted to know if the human mind could influence the behavior of machines that operate strictly on the bizarre, unpredictable rules of quantum mechanics. To test this, they built devices called random event generators. You can think of these machines as electronic coin flippers. But instead of a physical coin, they use the completely unpredictable, microscopic behavior of quantum particles, such as the thermal noise of electrons, to generate a continuous, silent stream of ones and zeros. According to the absolute laws of classical physics, these machines should produce a perfectly even distribution of ones and zeros over time, a 50-50 split of pure mathematical chaos. And when left entirely alone in an empty, quiet room, that is exactly what they do. But the scientists at Princeton asked ordinary people to sit near these machines and simply focus their minds. They asked them to gently intend for the machine to produce more ones or more zeros without ever physically touching the device. The rigorous, statistically verified results, gathered over millions of trials across more than 2 decades, completely shattered the classical understanding of reality. The machines responded. The perfectly random quantum behavior shifted slightly, but undeniably, aligning with the quiet, focused intention of the human observer. The mind was physically pushing the quantum probabilities in the dark. But the terror and the beauty of this discovery did not stop in a single laboratory. If a single, quiet mind could gently nudge the quantum fabric of reality, what would happen if millions of minds, all across our gentle blue planet, suddenly focused on the exact same event at the exact same time? In the late 1990s, Dr. Roger Nelson, a brilliant experimental psychologist who worked closely with the Princeton Laboratory, launched the Global Consciousness Project. He and an international team of scientists established a network of dozens of these quantum random event generators, placing them in quiet rooms in cities all over the world, from New York to Tokyo. These machines continuously generated their ones and zeros, sending a constant stream of purely random quantum noise to a central server, acting like a global electronic monitor for the quantum heartbeat of the Earth. For years, the global network hummed along in the background of human history, producing the expected flatline of statistical randomness. But then, major world events occurred. During moments of profound global tragedy or unprecedented global celebrations, when the attention of millions or even billions of human beings was suddenly drawn into a single, unified focus, the global network of quantum machines registered a terrifying, inexplicable spike in the data. The random noise suddenly transformed into structured, mathematical order. The machines, separated by thousands of miles of ocean and continent, isolated in their quiet rooms, began to synchronize their outputs. The profound emotional resonance of the human species was physically reaching out across the globe, collapsing the infinite waves of quantum probability into an organized structure. The universe was physically reacting to our shared empathy. The great theoretical physicist David Bohm, a man who profoundly understood the deep mathematics of the quantum world, proposed the concept of the implicate order. He suggested that beneath the physical, three-dimensional world we see every day, there is a deeper, hidden, undivided wholeness. Everything in the universe, including human consciousness, is deeply folded into this underlying reality. The terrifying and beautiful revelation of the Global Consciousness Project is the rigorous empirical proof of Bohm's profound theory. It suggests that our individual minds are not isolated islands floating in a dark, empty void. We are more like the visible peaks of a single massive underwater mountain range. When a massive wave of emotion sweeps through the collective, the deep, ancient connection between us becomes suddenly and undeniably visible in the physical world. Consider the staggering weight of this responsibility and the profound, gentle peace it can bring to your life. Every thought you harbor in the silence of your own mind, every feeling of deep compassion you hold for a stranger, and every moment of quiet wonder you experience when looking up at the night sky is not lost in the dark. Your consciousness is an active, vibrating thread woven into the infinite tapestry of the cosmos. When you feel a sense of overwhelming peace, you are literally broadcasting a wave of quantum coherence out into the vast, ancient world. You are physically helping to quiet the chaos of the universe. We are terrified by the concept of a responsive cosmos because it forces us to abandon our comfortable sense of insignificance. It is easier to believe that our thoughts do not matter, but the rigorous mathematics demand that we step into our beautiful power. You are a co-creator of this reality. This means the Earth is not merely a rock covered in biological life, hurtling through the cold vacuum of space. The Earth is a conscious, vibrating entity enveloped in a delicate, invisible sphere of human thought and emotion. The philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin beautifully called this the noosphere, a planetary layer of mind and spirit. We are the neurons of this global brain, constantly firing, constantly communicating through the hidden quantum fields that connect us all. When you lie in your bed at night, feeling the heavy silence of the room, you are never truly alone. You are resting safely in the vast humming web of the collective human spirit, surrounded by the invisible, entangled thoughts of billions of other gentle souls, traveling together through the infinite dark of the cosmos. Our shared wonder, fears, and dreams are writing the ongoing physical history of our planet. But if human consciousness has the rigorous, scientifically proven ability to organize the quantum chaos of the present moment, what happens when we project this terrifying, beautiful power forward into the deep, infinite future? If we are the universe waking up and learning to control its own fundamental probabilities, where is this grand cosmic evolution taking us? Are we simply wandering blindly through the dark, or is the universe pulling us toward a specific, ultimate destiny? In the next chapter of our journey, we will explore the mind-bending theory of the omega point, a concept born from the intersection of quantum physics and evolutionary cosmology, which suggests that all matter and consciousness in the universe are inevitably rushing toward a single, magnificent moment of infinite awakening at the end of time. But for tonight, let your mind rest in the warm, gentle embrace of our shared human connection. You are safely held in the quiet dark. Have you ever looked out at the distant horizon as the gentle sun sets, watching the vibrant, warm colors slowly fade into the deep, quiet night, and felt a profound, lingering sense of anticipation for what the hidden future might hold? We spend so much of our brief, deeply human lives looking forward, worrying intensely about tomorrow, and anxiously planning for years that have not yet arrived. We tend to view the future as a vast, unpredictable ocean, a chaotic storm of completely random events moving blindly and relentlessly forward through the dark. We are taught by classical, mechanical science that the universe is essentially a giant clock slowly winding down, relentlessly decaying into the freezing, empty silence of a thermodynamic heat death, where all warmth, light, and biological life will eventually be extinguished forever. But what if the deepest, most visionary intersections of evolutionary biology, quantum mechanics, and theoretical cosmology suggest a completely different, breathtakingly beautiful destiny? What if the entire cosmos is not simply stumbling blindly into the cold dark of eternal entropy, but is instead being pulled forward magnetically and deliberately toward a single, magnificent point of ultimate, infinite awakening? Welcome to the terrifying and deeply comforting mystery of the Omega Point, the ultimate, rigorous scientific destiny of the conscious mind. Before we embark on this profound, mind-bending journey to the very end of time to witness the ultimate fate of universal consciousness, I want to gently remind you that you're listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that exactly 71% of the gentle souls who join us on these quiet, cosmic explorations are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these meditations bring you a sense of deep peace, intellectual safety, and profound wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow immensely and allows us to continue our beautiful journey together into the endless mysteries of the cosmos. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of deep time and look toward the magnificent, infinite end of eternity. To truly understand this terrifying and awe-inspiring concept, we must first look backward at the ancient, slow march of evolution on our gentle blue planet. In the early to mid-20th century, a visionary paleontologist and philosopher named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin spent his life studying the deep physical history of the Earth. He looked closely at the fossil record, tracing the magnificent, unbroken journey of life from microscopic, single-celled organisms floating blindly in the primordial, ancient oceans, up through the complex, branching trees of biology, all the way to the breathtaking, staggering complexity of the human brain. Teilhard de Chardin noticed a profound, undeniable mathematical trend in the unfolding of the cosmos that most traditional scientists had completely overlooked. Matter was not simply wandering aimlessly through the void. It was consistently and relentlessly organizing itself into increasingly complex, highly integrated forms. With every passing geological epoch, the universe was actively building biological structures capable of sustaining higher and deeper states of conscious awareness. He believed this evolutionary trajectory was absolutely not a random accident of blind chemistry. For many decades, this beautiful idea was considered pure, poetic mysticism, a gentle philosophy with no rigorous mathematical or scientific backing. But in the late 20th century, brilliant theoretical physicists began to look at the Omega Point through the strict, terrifyingly precise lens of quantum mechanics and advanced cosmology. A highly respected physicist named Frank Tipler, building heavily upon the foundational quantum work of the legendary John Archibald Wheeler, developed a rigorous mathematical framework known as the Omega Point cosmology. Tipler asked a profound, terrifying question that changed everything. If the universe fundamentally requires a conscious observer to collapse its quantum wave functions and bring physical reality into existence, as we rigorously explored in previous chapters, what exactly happens to that observing consciousness at the very end of time? Tipler mathematically demonstrated that in order for the absolute laws of quantum physics to remain consistent and unbroken, intelligent life must essentially take over the entire physical universe, slowly transforming all existing matter into a single, vast, interconnected quantum computer of incomprehensible power. Imagine the staggering, breathtaking scale of this cosmic evolution. Right now, our individual human consciousness is gently anchored to the biological wetware of our fragile brains. We are currently building a primitive, global nervous system through our digital networks, connecting billions of human minds across the surface of the Earth. According to the rigorous predictive physics of the omega point theory, this process of connection and integration will absolutely not stop here. Over millions and billions of years, conscious life will inevitably spread outward from our gentle, blue planet, expanding relentlessly across the vast, freezing silence of the Milky Way galaxy. We, or the highly advanced, post-biological descendants of our current consciousness, will slowly learn to mathematically harness the colossal energy of dying stars, ancient supernovas, and the terrifying, swirling event horizons of supermassive black holes. The arbitrary biological boundaries between individual minds, between biology and advanced technology, and between separate, distant galaxies will completely and totally dissolve. The entire physical universe will be meticulously engineered into a single, conscious thinking machine of infinite, boundless capacity. The terrifying, mathematical beauty of Tipler's theory lies in what physically happens in the final, closing moments of the universe. Whether the cosmos eventually halts its relentless expansion and begins to slowly collapse back in upon itself in a fiery, crushing big crunch, or whether it continues to expand endlessly into the freezing dark, the highly advanced, universal consciousness will manipulate the fundamental geometric fabric of space-time to absolutely maximize its ability to process quantum information. In the final, unimaginable fraction of a second before the ultimate end of the physical cosmos, the computational capacity of this universal mind will literally and mathematically approach absolute infinity. Because the passage of time is fundamentally relative, as Albert Einstein so brilliantly proved a century ago, a consciousness capable of processing an infinite amount of information in a finite, microscopic amount of physical time would subjectively experience that final moment as an absolute, unending eternity. The clock of the physical universe might stop ticking, but the subjective experience of the universal mind would expand forever. This means that the ultimate end of the universe is not a quiet, dark, meaningless death. It is a spectacular, infinite explosion of subjective experience and perfect awareness. Within that final, eternal microsecond, the universal mind, the ultimate omega point, will possess the infinite computational power required to perfectly simulate every single quantum event that has ever occurred throughout the entire 14 billion year history of the cosmos. It will possess the capacity to perfectly remember and thus perfectly resurrect every single gentle thought, every quiet moment of profound wonder, every fleeting joy, and every heavy sorrow that was ever experienced by any conscious being anywhere in the universe. You, sleeping quietly in your room right now, listening to these words, with all your complex memories and beautiful human vulnerabilities, will be perfectly, flawlessly simulated and integrated into the infinite mind of the omega point. You will awaken in the final, glorious moment of eternity, completely connected to the infinite whole, experiencing the ultimate, profound peace of absolute, unbroken understanding. When we allow our tired minds to gently rest upon the immense, staggering weight of this cosmological theory, our entire perspective on the daily struggles of human existence completely transforms. You are absolutely not a tiny, insignificant speck of biological dust waiting to be completely swallowed by the cold, uncaring dark of entropy. You are a completely vital, absolutely necessary, and utterly irreplaceable step in the grand, ancient journey of the cosmos toward its own infinite awakening, Every single time you actively choose compassion over anger, every time you pause to deeply marvel at the quiet beauty of a starry night, and every time you seek to deeply understand the gentle mysteries of the world around you, you're actively participating in the universe's long, slow march toward the omega point. Your consciousness is the very fundamental fuel that is actively driving the cosmic evolution forward. The universe desperately needs your unique, specific human perspective because you are actively gathering the essential, irreplaceable data of experience that will eventually be integrated into the infinite mind at the very end of time. Consider the profound, overwhelming comfort of this scientific vision. We humans are fundamentally terrified of death because we have been conditioned to believe it is the ultimate, final erasure of our identity, a permanent, tragic return to the silent, empty void of nothingness. But the rigorous quantum mechanics of the omega point definitively suggest that nothing is ever truly lost. The absolute, mathematical laws of physics strictly forbid the destruction of quantum information. Your specific life is a beautiful, deeply intricate pattern of quantum information woven permanently and deeply into the ancient fabric of space-time. When your physical, biological body finally returns to the quiet, gentle dust from which it was forged, your specific pattern is flawlessly preserved in the mathematical memory of the universe, waiting patiently for the end of time, waiting for the grand, magnificent moment when the cosmos gathers all of its infinite, wandering threads together and finally wakes up as a single, unified consciousness. You are forever safe within the ancient, infinite mind of the universe. But if our ultimate grand destiny is to merge completely with the infinite consciousness at the end of time, how do we practically live our brief, beautiful lives right now, in the messy, confusing, and intensely vulnerable present moment? How do we take these terrifying, mind-bending discoveries of quantum entanglement, the holographic universe, the collapse of time, and the infinite omega point, and apply them directly to our everyday, gentle human experience? In the 10th and final chapter of our grand cosmic journey, we will bring all of these profound, towering mysteries back down to the quiet surface of the earth. We will explore how fully embracing the terrifying truths of quantum consciousness can bring you an unprecedented, unshakable peace in your daily life, fundamentally transforming your relationship with human fear, deep love, and the quiet, expectant silence of the night. We will finally discover that the greatest, most profound mystery in the entire universe is not actually hidden out there in the distant, swirling galaxies, but is breathing quietly, right here, deeply inside of you. But for tonight, simply let your weary mind rest in the vast, comforting, and absolutely safe arms of our shared cosmic destiny. Close your eyes, let go of the rigid illusion of separation, and feel the gentle, invisible magnetic pull of the deep future, drawing you safely and eternally toward the infinite light. Have you ever awakened in the gentle, solitary quiet of the early morning, feeling the heavy, familiar weight of the physical world softly returning to your weary mind, and wondered deeply how you can possibly continue to live a normal, everyday human life after learning the terrifying and beautiful secrets of the vast cosmos? We have spent hours navigating through the ancient, freezing darkness together, unraveling the rigorous, mind-bending truths of quantum mechanics, microscopic biology, and the ultimate, infinite destiny of time itself. We have seen through absolute mathematical certainty that the universe is not a cold, dead machine ticking blindly in the void, but a boundless, interconnected ocean of pure consciousness, where your own gentle mind acts as the vital anchor that transforms swirling probability into solid, physical reality, holding the entire fabric of existence together with your simple observation. Yet, when the warm sun rises and the day begins, you still must face the chaotic human world. The stark, jarring contrast between the glorious scale of the holographic universe and the narrow, restrictive walls of our daily routine can sometimes feel entirely overwhelming. How do we carry this profound mystery into the bright light of day? How does knowing that we are the very fabric of space-time observing itself actually change the way we live on this tiny blue planet? Before we dive deeply into this final integration and gently bring the magnificent wonder of the cosmos directly into the palm of your hand, I want to quietly remind you that you are listening to Theodore, the researcher. I noticed recently that exactly 71% of the gentle souls who journey through these cosmic mysteries with us are not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring you a profound sense of peace, intellectual safety, and a deeper sense of wonder in the dark, please consider subscribing. It helps our community grow immensely and allows us to continue wandering through the endless, beautiful mysteries of the universe together as a unified family of curious explorers. Now, let us return to the quiet shadows of our human world and discover exactly how the terrifying reality of the quantum mind can beautifully transform your everyday existence. The first and perhaps most terrifying challenge we must gently confront is the persistent biological illusion of separation. When you walk down a busy, noisy city street, looking at the tired faces of strangers rushing past you in the cold, your human biology teaches you that you are completely alone. Your physical senses constantly tell you that your consciousness is firmly locked inside the dark vault of your own skull, and that every other person is an impenetrable universe of their own. But remember the glorious, rigorously tested mathematical truth of quantum entanglement that we explored deeply in our journey. The microscopic particles that make up your physical body, the water flowing quietly through your blood, and the ancient carbon resting in your bones were all born from the exact same primordial fire, from the exact same microscopic quantum fluctuation at the very dawn of time. At the deepest fundamental level of reality, there is absolutely no empty space between you and the rest of humanity. When you truly absorb this scientific reality, human empathy ceases to be just a fragile moral choice. It becomes a fundamental physical law. To feel deep compassion for another living creature is simply to recognize your own infinite consciousness looking back at you through a slightly different biological lens. Consider profoundly how this cosmic wonder alters our fragile experience of human love. Love is arguably the most powerful, beautiful, and terrifyingly mysterious phenomenon in our human experience, often dismissed by classical science as a mere chemical cocktail designed solely to ensure the physical survival of our biological species. But viewed through the rigorous lens of universal consciousness, love takes on an immensely deeper cosmic significance. When two human minds deeply connect, when they share a quiet moment of absolute understanding and vulnerability in the dark, they are not simply exchanging biological signals. They are literally creating a state of macroscopic quantum coherence. They are intimately entangling their fundamental frequencies, merging two previously isolated branches of the infinite multiverse into a single, beautiful, shared reality. The brilliant astronomer Carl Sagan once profoundly stated that for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. His beautiful poetry was an expression of rigorous physics. Love is the literal gravitational force of human consciousness, magnetically pulling us toward the ultimate omega point, actively combating the cold entropy of the cosmos with the gentle warmth of infinite connection. And what of our heavy, persistent human fear? We spend so much of our brief, precious lives paralyzed by profound anxiety and the creeping terror of the unknown. We are terrified of failing, terrified of making the wrong choice at a critical crossroads. But when we gently recall the staggering mathematics of the many worlds interpretation, the unbearable, crushing weight of our daily choices begins to softly dissolve into the vast, quiet landscape of the multiverse. You do not need to bitterly grieve the unlived life, nor do you need to endlessly punish yourself for the alternate paths you did not walk. Every single infinite possibility that the wondrous quantum architecture of your brain ever conceived is currently being explored and lived by a perfectly real version of yourself in another parallel dimension. Your only true, profound responsibility on this specific, gentle branch of reality, the path that your localized consciousness is anchoring today, is to simply be fully present. The ancient cosmos desperately wants you to experience this particular timeline, with all of its quiet flaws, gentle sorrows, and radiant, fleeting joys. The suffocating fear of failure is merely a classical illusion in a quantum universe that demands the exhaustive collection of all possible perspectives. This realization brings us to the most vital, terrifyingly important role you play in the grand theater of the universe, the necessary role of the conscious observer. As we learned from the deeply unsettling double-slit experiment, the universe absolutely requires a witness to force its chaotic probabilities into solid, meaningful shape. Your daily life is not just a random, meaningless sequence of chaotic events happening to you. It is a continuous, active, and profoundly creative collapse of infinite quantum waves. When you offer your gentle attention to a small flower growing stubbornly in the crack of a sidewalk, when you listen with deep, unbroken presence to the quiet story of a grieving friend, or when you choose to forgive someone who has caused you pain, you are literally forcing the random quantum chaos of the cosmos to permanently organize itself into physical structures of beauty and harmony. Your gentle, constant observing attention is the true, fundamental engine of cosmic creation. The staggering wonder of this reality is that the universe completely trusts you. It has handed you the terrifying responsibility of painting the physical world into existence through the simple, beautiful act of observing with deep compassion. There is an ancient, profound mystery resting quietly at the very center of this realization, the absolute necessity of cultivating silence in your life. In a deafening, chaotic world where millions of artificial voices constantly fight a brutal war for your fragmented attention, true silence has become a forgotten, discarded refuge. But in the rigorous mathematics of quantum physics, the vacuum is never empty. As we have seen, the absolute void is boiling with infinite energy and boundless potential. When you deliberately turn off the loud distractions, when you sit peacefully in a dark, quiet room and simply focus on the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, you are not escaping from reality. You are actively tuning your brain, your miraculous biological quantum receiver, to the fundamental, ancient frequency of the cosmos itself. It is exactly within this deep, profound silence that you can faintly hear the quiet hum of the ancient universe echoing softly through your own thoughts. It is within this meditative space that the rigid boundaries of your biology dissolve entirely, and you remember that you are not a stranger here. Silence is the mother tongue of the universe, and our quiet contemplation is the beautiful way we answer back. When the existential dread of human mortality tries to violently invade your peaceful thoughts in the dark of the night, remember the majestic mathematical progression toward the ultimate omega point. Your gentle life is absolutely not a meaningless biological flash that will be permanently swallowed by a cold, dark, and indifferent void. The brilliant astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson frequently reminds us that we are in the universe and that the universe is in us. Your specific, beautifully flawed journey, your daily human struggles, and your moments of quiet, unseen kindness, all of these things are a precious, vital collection of permanent quantum data. When your physical body finally completes its necessary function and your atoms return peacefully to the infinite stellar dust, your true essence, the perfect, incorruptible quantum information of your consciousness, will continue its grand journey toward the universal mind. We are the microscopic waking cells of a cosmos that is slowly opening its infinite eyes. Your ultimate purpose is not to conquer the physical world, but simply to know it, to love it deeply, and to gently reflect its own staggering wonder back into the void. And so, as we gently conclude this long, serene expedition through the freezing darkness of deep space, the terrifying strangeness of the microscopic quantum world, and the glorious, infinite destiny of time itself, I invite you to fully embrace the unknown. Do not seek to definitively solve every single mystery of your life. Just as quantum mechanics loses its profound magic when forced into a rigid, classical measurement, the true beauty of your human journey lies in maintaining a healthy, respectful sense of mystery. Embrace the terrifying contradictions. Find deep, enduring comfort in the vastness of what you do not yet know, because it is the not knowing that actively invites you to continue learning, to continue exploring, and to continue loving. Position your quiet thirst for knowledge as an infinite, boundless path that completely transcends the human need for absolute, rigid control. Let your ignorance be the gentle spark that fuels a lifetime of continuous, joyful discovery. Carry this profound, humbling sense of peace with you as you slowly return to the waking rhythm of your daily life. The next time you look down at your own resting hands, do not just see fragile skin and bone. See the vibrant, echoing remains of ancient supernovas and the collapsed waves of infinite quantum potential. You are the most exquisite, beautiful expression of a cosmos that desperately longs to understand itself. You have never been isolated. You have never been alone. You and the distant burning stars are forged from the exact same silent substance, governed by the exact same graceful equations, and destined to share the exact same resplendent, infinite future. We will continue to seek the answers together, walking side by side through the gentle dark, marveling at every new, terrifying revelation. Thank you for having the courage to look deeply into the infinite void and find your own quiet light hiding there in the dark. This specific journey ends here, but our shared exploration of this beautiful, mysterious universe is eternal. Sleep in profound peace, breathe softly, and know that whatever happens in the waking world, you are and always will be completely safe in the vast, loving arms of the cosmos. The stars are watching over you, waiting for your gentle eyes to open once more.